Autoline Daily is brought to you by Bridgestone, passion for excellence.
Here are today's top headlines. More news on the U.S. Cars program. Chevy readies a new Corvette race car for the American Le Mans, and Ford looks into more plant-based materials. Up next, we'll be back with the news behind the headlines. This is Autoline Daily for Wednesday, August the 5th, 2009. I'm Murray Feldman from Fox 2 News here in Detroit, filling in for John, who's still out of town, and it's too bad because today's a very special day around here. This is the 200th episode of Autoline Daily. Gotta love it. Congratulations, John and crew, and here's to the next 200. I'll save you a piece of cake, John. Anyway, here's today's news. The Cash for Clunkers saga continues with news on several fronts. We're going to start in Washington, where the U.S. Senate is still stuck on refunding the program. However, the Detroit News reports the Majority Leader Harry Reid predicts that they will in fact pass the $2 billion addition by Friday, which is when the Senate goes on vacation. And now the head of the Democrats is backed by his Republican counterpart, Mitch McConnell, who says his party will not block a vote on more clunker money. Now, once those funds are back in the system, the Transportation Secretary Ray LaHood is predicting that this $2 billion should keep the program running until at least Labor Day. Though the way consumers burn through the first billion in just 1 week means we're going to have to wait and see if that comes true. And finally, more government figures tell us that the Ford Focus was the #1 clunker purchase across the country, but don't cry for the imports. It turns out that the rest of the top 5 are all Japanese. Toyota's Corolla finished as the second biggest seller, with the Honda Civic third, and then back to Toyota with the Prius and Camry rounding out the top 5. And speaking of scrappage plans, according to the AFP, Germany had a 30% boost in car sales for July thanks to its own Cash for Clunkers scheme. Overall, sales in Germany are up 27% this year. It already uses soy-based foam in some of its models, but Ford Motor Company is looking to increase the amount of natural materials in its vehicles. Scientists at the company's European Research Center in Germany are now looking into a compound called liquid wood. The material is made from scrap wood chips and fibers. It's kind of like particle board, and it offers a green alternative to petroleum-based plastic. It's injection moldable, which means that in the future it could be used for interior trim. Honeywell developed a new, more environmentally friendly air conditioning refrigerant, and it just got approved for use in Japan. The new formula is called HFO 1234YF. It does significantly less damage to the environment when it's released in the atmosphere. Refrigerants are rated on a scale according to their global warming potential, or GWP for short. 134A, the refrigerant that's currently in use, has a GWP of 1300. Honeywell's new formula is rated only 4. The approval by Japanese regulators is a very important step toward its wide-scale adoption and the reduction of greenhouse gases. Today, the White House will announce which companies will receive grants for advanced battery research and plug-in development. According to the Detroit News, $2.4 billion will be awarded to 48 different companies. $1.5 billion will go toward producing batteries and their components. $500 million will be used for producing electric drive components, and the other $400 million will be awarded to test plug-in hybrids and pure electrics. Corvette will introduce a new car this weekend at the Mid-Ohio racetrack to compete in the GT2 category of the American Le Mans Series. The car is called the C6.R. It's based on the Corvette ZR1, and thanks to series rules, the car will use many production-based components from it, like the body design, aluminum frame and chassis, as well as the steering system. Although unique to the race car will be a 6-liter small block V8 that puts out 470 horsepower, the C6R will compete in the remainder of races left for the year. Coming up next, John gives us his take on the newest Lexus hybrid. We'll be right back after this.
Changing tires out here could be dangerous, but with these tires, I don't need to worry.
Bridgestone.
Earlier in the week, we previewed the Lexus HS250H, the company's newest hybrid model and the industry's first dedicated luxury hybrid. Recently, John got some time behind the wheel of the new Lexus, and here's a little of what he thinks about this groundbreaking model.
Even though Lexus already has several hybrids in its lineup, this one, the HS250H, is a purpose-built hybrid. You can only buy this car as a hybrid, not in any other way. A couple of interesting things about it. Notice this little quarter window that's at the front here. This is the first time I've seen it on a luxury car. Normally you'd see this as a blacked out panel and the mirror would be mounted to that. However, the big thing in design these days is to not mount the mirrors right up in the A-pillar, but to put them on the door. That's considered more prestigious, more luxury-like. Another curious thing that you get in this car here is this little kick-up panel that you see on the back of the door here. Something of a design statement that you also see on the BMW X1 and X3. Just kind of curious how Lexus is using this. If they didn't have it, you'd see this window come to a much sharper point. That's kind of a design statement that Honda uses, and definitely Lexus didn't want to go there. I think that's why you're getting a bit of this kick-up. Take a look at the trunk here, too, because the trunk space in the other Lexuses is pathetic. In this one, you get a reasonably good amount of room. Not as big a trunk as you might see in other cars, but it goes pretty deep. The other ones you're lucky just to get maybe 4 grocery bags into. So this, again, being a purpose-built hybrid instead of a car being retrofitted to be a hybrid, gives you a lot more trunk space. One of the first things that you notice in this car is how they've taken the center stack out. It's almost like a flying buttress. The reason they do that is to present these controls, especially this mouse-like contraption. You just move this sort of joystick thing. It's easy just to rest your palm on this and move this around, and then you have an enter button that you've got to click on, and it brings up whatever menu that you want to look at. You can bring up a variety of things. I found it fairly easy to use, but you do have to get used to it. It's just new, I guess, in that regard. Whether it's better than MMI or iDrive, I don't know. I still found I had to learn this thing. But I guess in retrospect, it doesn't have as much that you have to learn as, say, like iDrive does. We can play with the technology all day long, but the real proof in the pudding is driving these cars. Come on, let's get this thing out on the road, and I'll show you a few more things about it.
If you want to see the rest of John McElroy's review of the new Lexus HS250H, jump over to John's journal page on our website. You can watch his entire test drive and a whole lot more a little bit later this afternoon. Anyway, that'll do it for today's top news in the global automotive industry. I'm Murray Feldman, Fox 2 News in Detroit, sitting in for John. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Visit our website for even more great content all week long. Autoline Extra, John's Journal, podcasts, and even more. So click over and get the inside view at AutolineDetroit.tv.